ahead and get started. Hi everyone, and welcome to PoliticOly episode 5. My name is Stuart, and I am broadcasting live from Olympia, Washington, and on a news and politics live stream and chat show. So welcome everyone, and let's get started. The first issue I wanted to talk about was just about the show today. I wanted to talk about some of the segments that I was thinking about doing and just how I wanted to structure the show and hopefully get some feedback from folks. So right now I just have a slideshow playing of some selfies and pics from around Olympia, things like that. So that's just the background for now. But I wanted to, the first segment that came to mind is Twitter review, this week in Twitter, something like that, because I'm a bit of a Twitter junkie, and there's a lot of hot tweets on there that I think deserve to be seen, and so I want to do some kind of Twitter review for the week, each week. So if you see a tweet that you would like to on air here for folks, then go ahead and tag me or send it to me, and we will just take a look at some of what's been going on Twitter for the week. So that's one segment I wanted to do. I don't know exactly how much news review I want to do or how much time folks would like me to spend just reviewing news and things that have been going on. So let me know what you think about that. And I would also like to focus on things that are going on in the community, projects that you can connect to, and people that are organizing and things like that. So I'll do that as much as possible and focus on just positive and moving forward and how to plug into the political community. And so that would be one focus, but I'm not sure what other segments people would like to see. I could do a meme review. I could do we could just watch some TikToks together. We could spend some time on the Bernie dialer or other things like that, where we are actually doing some hands-on experience with those kind of things for folks to get an idea of how that goes. I could do, I could talk about music. I could talk about any kind of number of things. So please let me know what you think a segment is that I should do on the show, and let me know in the comments. So, moving on, let's see. What should we move on to here? Maybe we move on to the Twitter Week in Review, right? That's my favorite, so let's do it. Let's see. Just give me a moment to get set up here. All right. Resize that window here, and we will start reviewing some tweets. So here in the comments, Closer019 says, "Hey dude, are you a left-winger or a right-winger?" I am a left-winger. I am a socialist, and yep. So let's go into some Twitter review, but keep in mind, if you want to comment, go ahead and comment, and I will respond as we go. So, first thing, of course, is Brianna Joy Gray, Bernie's former National Press Secretary. Since Bernie dropped out, Brianna Joy Gray has been on fire on Twitter. So if you want to hear that Bernie staff unleashed kind of attitude, Brianna Joy Gray is stop #1 for you in her Twitter feed. So keep an eye on that. And the trolls come for her really hard, and it's horrible. And she fights back, and it's a beautiful thing. So if you just there's too many to fire tweets to even list them all. But let's see. She's just been calling people out in the media, and the revolution will not be televised. But anyway, I'll let you go ahead and do that. But I just wanted to recommend following Brianna Joy Gray on Twitter at BrieBrieJoy. So that is my first Twitter recommendation of the week. Let's see. Moving on, there was a poll on my Twitter page after Bernie dropped out. Now that Bernie's dropped out and we know the Democratic Party will never run a Democratic primary, what's our best strategy going forward? Don't write in Bernie, wasted vote. And we had 19 votes, and the Green Party won there. So, and that's a tiny poll, obviously. It's just very, informal. I'm a small-time Twitter presence, not a huge person on Twitter. So, but I have been seeing a lot of these polls go around, and I've been seeing the Green Party winning all the ones that I've been seeing, which is big news to me because it just shows that a lot of Bernie folks are leaning Green Party now, and it's not just me. So this is obviously just, a very small poll on my Twitter, but there's been many others going around, and with a similar result. As one example, let me pull up Joshua Collins for Congress. Also held a similar poll. Do you plan on voting for Joe Biden in the general election? We had 77.4 no, and that was with over 12,000 votes. And a lot of love for the Green Party in the comments. I had commented, Green Party, if enough Bernie folks can rally around the Green Party to win 5% of the national vote, the Green Party would then qualify as a major party, and we could run a candidate like Bernie as a Green in 2024 instead of being forced to run as a Dem. Let's build a left coalition Green Party. And that one got 157 likes as well. So a lot of people with a similar idea and response to what happened in the Democratic primary. Moving on, we had a different poll from Megan Day of, you can see, staff writer at Jacobin, member of Dem Socialists, DSA. She did a poll bearing in mind that obviously these are not mutually exclusive. I'm curious to see how many of you believe that above all, Bernie came up short because he went easy on opponents, was too anti-establishment, got shafted by big media, or was electorally censored word. And the overwhelming winner was that he got shafted by the big media, and that was my vote as well. And there are many factors involved, but the media is just brutal in this country. The propaganda and the brainwashing and just the capitalism, the barrier of anything that challenges capitalism getting any airtime on the media is just so tough that is just a huge factor as long as the capitalists run the media for most of the folks in this country. Let's see. Closer 19. I'll only respond to adversarial folks in the comments to a certain extent. But let me see. Blah, blah, blah. Capitalism has been responsible for most of humanity's technological leaps, blah, blah, blah. No, actually, human beings have, people have, and workers, and the engineers, and the manufacturers, and the laborers, and everyone else involved in creating all of our technology. And so the capitalists, who that is the people at the very top with the capital, and they are not the ones who make the inventions. They're not the ones who do anything like that. So, yeah, and he makes fun of me for wearing glasses. Well, okay, well, you know. So let's see. Moving on in the Twitter review, we have Nikita Oliver, who is another person that you should go follow on Twitter. Apologies and correct myself there. They have been a great resource to catch up with what has been going on in prisons and so forth in Washington State, and not just the Seattle area where they ran for mayor, but all over the state. And in this example, Nikita says, call the Thurston County Commissioners and tell them to stop plans to build a new women's prison, and lists the phone numbers for the county commissioners. And if you go to their page, you can see there are all kind of tweets where calling out Mayor Jenny Durkin, calling out the hate groups in Seattle, calling out racism and classism, and all kind of sharing personal accounts from folks with loved ones that are incarcerated, and people like that who, just here's an example, just heard from a loved one at Stafford Creek Prison. One, when people report or display symptoms, they are all put in the same quarantine unit. Sometimes they're double bunked, which means people who don't have COVID might be exposed to COVID. 2, it's unclear if they're actually testing people. They seem to be mostly making temperatures, which means asymptomatic people may be exposing people, especially asymptomatic guards. 3, they are not receiving appropriate hygiene products, PPE, or cleaners. Many men use the same microwaves, day rooms, restrooms, etc. Without the proper cleaning products, they can't sanitize properly. No doctor or medical professional has spoken to the men about what is going on, what to expect, or how to keep themselves safe. Corrections officers are most likely to bring it into DOC. Most still are not following social distancing, and some are still not wearing masks. And that's just an example, so go follow Nikita Oliver for more info on what is going on with the prison system. So let's see. Okay, blocking the troll. Tolerated that while it was just discussion, but I don't want people to just use this as a means to propagandize in some other way. So bye-bye, troll, and moving on. Let's see. What is next in Twitter review? Oh, here is one more from Nikita Oliver. Let's pull this one up, where they are dunking on Mayor Jenny Durkin of Seattle. Why do you all lie so much? Because of this issue of Mayor Durkin was talking about how the city is maintaining open bathrooms and sanitation for folks around the city, but reporters who were going around were finding that they were actually closed, and that was not a true statement. So that is just one more example from Nikita Oliver. And I suggested she run for governor. So because we just need really people fighting for the people. So big fan of Nikita Oliver, and keep an eye on that Twitter. Moving on. Oh yeah, actually, before we move on, let's do one more Nikita Oliver tweet, and this one is with regard to Governor Inslee. Nikita says on April 9th, Governor Inslee and Sinclair, the use of phrases like violent drug offenses is coded racism, whether it is intentional or not. Who was most impacted by the war on drugs? Black and brown communities. And there are other instances. Oh, let's just continue with this thread, actually. Quote, what I learned from your press conference is, 1, that despite much warning from experts, you all have put very little real thought with a racial equality and disability justice lens into what safety looks like for our incarcerated community members. You, Governor Inslee, like so many white able-bodied with means politicians, do not have a racial equity or disability justice lens that you use to make policy that is reparative for marginalized and historically oppressed communities. You, Governor Inslee, would rather scapegoat scared, incarcerated individuals than actually do what needs to be done to keep us all safe, which is to shrink the incarcerated population fast. The CLS lawsuit gives you 2 ways to do that, but you are too worried about re-election to follow those recommendations. 4. Rather than humanizing incarcerated peoples, Governor Inslee, you blame them, much like how Trump does communities pushing back against his inhumane and racist policies. You gaslight the men inside for challenging your failure to effectively respond to their safety needs. There are many whom you could invite into this conversation, Governor Inslee, who can help you do this the right way, though you do not have the courage and political will to tell racist, xenophobic communities that caging people during a pandemic and potential outbreak is wrong. 6. Governor Inslee, you said no preventable death is acceptable. What I heard from you today is that no preventable death is acceptable so long as you haven't been convicted of a crime, which sounds like the 13th Amendment, which makes slavery illegal, but for if you've been convicted of a crime. No one is disposable, Governor Inslee. No one. This includes our incarcerated community members. So thank you, Nikita Oliver, for your leadership. Let's see. Any more comments? No. So if you are watching, please jump into the comments if you like. I'm doing a Twitter week in review. And if you have any links to any top social media posts that you think ought to be on here, just let me know. Send me a link in the comments, and I'll check it out. Other than that, moving on, we have a tweet from the Green Party of the United States. They have been reaching out to Bernie folks. So let's just read their message together here. Green Party message to Sanders campaign supporters. We believe everyday people must have a party to call home that is politically and financially independent of the capitalist power structure dominated by the parties of War and Wall Street. We say to you, the Green Party could be your home. Senator Sanders raised critically important issues. He's right. It was not about him, but about building a movement for those issues. The Green Party will continue to build and expand the issues Sanders raised. Join us. We feel tremendous solidarity towards Sanders supporters who have been abused and marginalized by the Democratic Party leadership. We admire their commitment to shared goals like improved Medicare for all, an eco-socialist Green New Deal to avert climate catastrophe, ending the U.S. war machine, and dismantling intersectional oppression in our society. We welcome Sanders supporters whose painful experience has led them to understand that none of those goals are possible so long as the Democrats and Republicans can operate as an anti-democratic cartel at the behest of this country's elite. Join the fight, either as Green Party members or allies, to bring actual democracy to U.S. elections through transformational victories like proportional representation, ranked choice voting, and fully public campaign financing. These transformations will benefit all who challenge the two-party cartel and will help usher in the political revolution we all hunger for. At this time of multiple crises, it is now essential to refuse the Democratic Party's relentless drive to lower our expectations of what we can accomplish in the fight for a just, equitable, and sustainable world free from empire and oppression. Learn more, sign up, volunteer at gp.org, #WeAreGreen. So that is from the Green Party, and if you look on their Twitter feed, you can see additional such messages. You can also look for Howie Hawkins on there, and he has been reaching out as well. So the last link I have for you for Twitter Week in Review, I actually mentioned earlier without meaning to, just briefly when I was talking about Nikita Oliver, because there are these Facebook groups and social media groups that pop up that, like Olympia looks like SHIT and Safe Seattle, and there's a similar one in Tacoma, and they purport to be groups of concerned community members that just want to, I don't know, whatever, but it's really just a hate group, and they tolerate some really violent, awful, and often bigoted messages toward houseless individuals and others. And so I encourage you to check on Facebook if you are a member of Olympia Looks Like SHIT, or Safe Seattle, or Tacoma Looks Like SHIT, or one of these other groups. And you may have joined because you saw a meme or a picture and you thought it was funny or interesting, and you clicked join or like, and inadvertently, and you didn't realize that these are hate groups. And so you should go ahead and check that out and unfollow those groups. Here is an example from the Tacoma group, posted by @speculation on Twitter. And there are many other examples of them promoting violence toward houseless individuals and others. In this example, it was folks that had a neighborhood free library where folks could come by and pick up books and things, and so they switched it to a neighborhood free food bank during this crisis, and folks are just commenting all sorts of terrible things, like it's a utter blight on the neighborhood that there would be a little box with some free food that someone in need might come by and grab, and that inspires these folks to hate and violence. So just watch out for these Facebook groups that look at first like they're just memes or jokes or concerned citizens, but they in fact tolerate hateful messages. So if you see something like that, unfollow those groups, block them, report them, and don't just let that slide. All right. So moving on, I wanted to talk about Bernie a little bit and the Democratic primary. I don't want to focus too much on this today, but my comments are that Tara Reade has filed criminal complaints with regard to the sexual assault by Joe Biden in D.C. I don't know all the details to that, so I want to actually learn more about that before I talk about it, about the legal case there. But I did want to mention that there was an actual legal case there. There was also a New York Times article that came out this week that described legitimate accusations against Joe Biden, but then covers up for him. And just give me a moment. I didn't have this picture queued up. There it is. So the New York Times says, no other allegation about sexual assault surfaced in the course of our reporting, nor did any former Biden staff corroborate Reade's allegation. We found no pattern of sexual misconduct by Biden beyond hugs, kisses, and touching that women previously said made them uncomfortable. And so basically they found evidence of sexual harassment and then said it's no big deal and just covered for him, which is just disgusting. So just always failure by the New York Times, but yeah, that's a big one. So I'm going to report more on the Tara Reade allegations once I have more information and have read all about that case. But moving on, I just wanted to talk a little bit about where we're at in the primary, because you have Bernie coming out and pushing folks to support Joe Biden. And it's just difficult because Bernie is also seemingly at this point ignoring the sexual assault allegations against Biden, and I don't yet know whether that is intentional or he just doesn't know about that yet. And I would like to think that he just hasn't heard about that yet, but hopefully he does and speaks out on that soon, because I think that even though we love Bernie and trust him quite a bit, there are limits to support, and we can still be critical of certain things. And I understand that he signed a deal to support the Democratic nominee, but there has to be some fine print there, and there has to be some limits to that, and some situations where he needs to think beyond that agreement that he made and call out Joe Biden. And we need to be looking into the exit poll discrepancies and other legal matters with regard to the primary, and he needs to be clear about that. He needs to be clear about Obama's role in convincing him to drop out. He so far has said he doesn't want to talk about it. And so while we all support Bernie, that doesn't mean we have to just always go where he goes and support who he supports. And it doesn't mean we can't urge him and push him to criticize the establishment. So I'm just kind of sharing some memes and things here as we go in the background. So there's a couple potential situations here. One is that the sexual assault allegations are successfully swept under the rug by the corporate media, and Joe Biden, and there's that potentiality, okay? But there's also the potential that the allegations get more and more media attention, and Bernie feels more pressure from his supporters to call out Biden and be honest and straightforward. And what about a situation where Bernie suspends his campaign? He's still on all of these ballots for these states coming up, but he's suspended his campaign, and his staff like Brianna and David Sirota and others are unleashed to speak the truth about Biden and DNC and media figures and so on. And what if Bernie took that approach as well and started just breathing fire? And then what if he started winning primaries even though his campaign is suspended? That's pretty unlikely, but I would love to see it. Another potential is that if Biden dropped out for some reason, if the legal allegations become more serious, or the situation just becomes too embarrassing for him, and there becomes an overwhelming support to put up another different nominee, then and Biden decides to drop out, and the Democrats seem to be right now prepping Andrew Cuomo as a replacement. There are other rumors, that Hillary Clinton or someone else could step into that role. And what we would have to do is fight for Bernie to win at that point, because he would be the one with the most actual delegates who is still in the race. And while they would try to just go ahead and give Biden's majority to someone else and not give it to Bernie anyway, we would have to make that very difficult for them and see what we could do in that situation. Let's see. I wanted to also mention, let's go back through here. There was one with the DSA housing demands for Governor Inslee. So I'll take a look at this. For immediate release, April 10th, 2020, from several DSA locals around Washington State and the South Sound. The Seattle, Tacoma, Spokane, Snohomish County, and Whatcom County chapters of the Democratic Socialists America, along with over 125 concerned Washingtonians, came together to call Governor Inslee's office on Friday, April 10th. Together, we demand that the Governor Inslee take immediate and bold action to support the housing security for all working-class residents across the state. As socialists, we see the necessity for immediate, bold action on housing, homelessness, worker protection, and public health. We need to mitigate the worst impacts now and take steps to build a better and more humane post-pandemic future. We believe that the eviction moratorium was a good step. However, these measures are not enough to protect our people in the long term. Housing was a crisis before, but with COVID-19, the situation has become dire. Unemployment claims are at an all-time high. Nationwide, a third of all people did not pay rent in April because they were not able to. We asked the governor today, what will you do to meet the dire and urgent housing needs of your constituents? We stand together to demand Governor Inslee and the Washington State Legislature: 1. Suspend rent collection. 2. Extend the eviction moratorium by 6 months. 3. Ban landlords from charging late fees. 4. Take vacant housing into public ownership to house people experiencing homelessness. 5. Support long-term tenant stability by lifting the state rent control ban and by enacting just cause eviction tenant protections. We believe that a better world is possible. We call on our state leadership to ensure housing stability during this pandemic and in the future. Housing is a human right. For more information or questions, please reach out to info@seattledsa.org or housing@tacoma.org. And I just wanted to share that message with y'all. All right, so that gets us caught up with what I had ready for you in just political review and social media review for the week. If you have other things that you would like to talk about or look at, go ahead and link it to me in the comments. I was also thinking of doing a segment where I read from some book or some published text that could be political or poetic or something else. But I don't have anything prepared for that for this week. So I will look for something next week. Let me know in the comments what would be a good idea, something that I could read, and that could be something from Mother Earth, the publication of Emma Goldman and Alexander Berkman from the early 1900s. That could be something from Ursula Le Guin's translation of the Tao Te Ching. That could be something from the Communist Manifesto, or something written by the Zapatistas, or something else interesting. If you've got an idea, let me know. I was thinking, usually I play something for you from YouTube. We watch together some update from Bernie or something else like that, but I don't have anything ready to share this week. So I think what I'm going to do is just plug a couple channels and go with that. So one I recommend is there's a new show called Weekends with Anna Kasparian and Michael Brooks that Jacobin is sponsoring. I would check that one out. I recommend Ben Dixon. You can find shorter segments of his podcast on YouTube and other sources, but if you want the full thing, you search for the BPD show or Benjamin Dixon on Patreon and check it out there. Let's see if there are any videos you wanted to share with me. Go ahead and do that for next week, but for now I will leave that alone. And whoops, that's the wrong window. It's like I'm still new and learning about all of this. So anyway, I'd love to have some feedback from folks. How was the audio? I may try next week with the headphone mic and see how the audio goes there and compare the two. Let me know what you think about what segments I should do in the show. I would love to have a Zoom interview or some kind of live interview with someone, or pre-recorded, or audio or video messages from folks who have any comment or question. You can email me at politically@gmail.com. Please keep an eye on PoliticOly on YouTube for the replay video. Once I get a good edit clip, I will get that uploaded and public on there, so you can check out the replay. And you can also subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when I go live. You can also do the same on Twitch if that's your thing. You can find me on Facebook, but if the best place to follow along is on YouTube. So I encourage you to find me on YouTube at PoliticOly, and you can find me on Twitter at Oli Stewart. I also have a Twitter for this show at Oli Politic. You can also find it by searching PoliticOly. But I don't know whether I want to keep going on building that Twitter handle just for the show, or if I want to just stay on my main on Twitter, since I have 700 some followers on there already built up and don't want to be double posting for everyone. So let me know what you think. Should I have a Twitter just for the show, or should I just use my main? Let me know in the comments. And thank you as well to all my new followers on Twitter. I've gotten about 40 or 50 new followers since Bernie dropped out and I started talking about the Green Party. So thank you to you all. You got me over 700 followers, and that is just, it makes me feel connected to folks and feel like I'm part of a community that I can chat with on there. So feel free to find me on Twitter at Oli Stewart, and send me comments on any of the platforms, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter, or email. I would love to hear from you. If you send me a voice or audio or video, a audio or video recording to my email, or tag it to me, I can play it on the show next week. If you want to send me a meme or a link or anything like that, go ahead. And I appreciate anyone who tuned in. And I'm going to go ahead and end the stream a little bit early today. And hopefully see you all next week. And hopefully I will have